Good morning, Eastview. Today won't be your typical flash show. We will be talking about a more serious topic. Human trafficking is defined as the buying and selling of humans for sex or labor. Every day, boys and girls are trafficked throughout the world. This global issue may not seem like a problem here in Minnesota. However, Minneapolis is among the 13th largest cities for human trafficking. Anita explores this topic in more details.
911, where's your emergency?
It's easy. It can happen fast.
This is Bobby, and I'm on a runaway from Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm in big trouble.
It can go down this road of trusting this person, and they introduce you to this person and then this person, and before you know it, it's only a week, and you've suddenly found yourself in another state.
I know, I'm afraid I'm about to get killed. How old are you, honey? I just turned 18.
The lines between right and wrong, the lines between who they can trust and who they can't trust is blurred.
Troy Groves has worked for the International Justice Mission, an organization that aims to help victims of sex and labor exploitation around the world.
There was a family who was working in a brick-making factory. For generations, they had spent attempting to pay off a debt through their labor, and that's called forced labor. So one of the families risked his life and went outside of the compound, and then IJM got involved. And then we were able to not only rescue that person, but we found out there were over 500 people that were trapped in forced bonded slavery. 512 slaves released on that day. It was like the largest single day emancipation of slaves since like Moses. And it was just an incredible, where one person just stepped out and took a risk.
IJM has also encountered cases of sexual exploitation.
There's a story of a young woman between her junior and senior year of high school in Thailand, and she was looking to make some money. And so she went with this aunt, and as soon as she got outside the borders, she was sold into trafficking by this aunt. She was eventually rescued by IJM.
Here in the U.S., we'd like to believe that all forms of slavery were eradicated hundreds of years ago, but a new, more dangerous form has emerged, with the media often supporting it. Michelle McKenzie, director of the Advocates of Human Rights based in Minnesota, shares the media's glamorization of human trafficking.
It's always been sort of, a joke. If you look in the media, it's funny, that there's a bachelor party and a girl jumps out of a cake is sort of a mainstream idea that you would have in, a kids show you'll see, or, the old movie Pretty Woman, where everything is great because, she's, finally saved by this rich, kind, caring guy who was buying sex from her. That's something that we're just challenging every day.
Joining us live is Anita. So Anita, what has Minnesota done to combat human trafficking?
So task forces have tried to prosecute the ringleaders of human trafficking instead of just arresting girls who have been involved in human trafficking against their will. So that's kind of gotten to the root of this issue.
All right, and what are some ways people at Eastview can help?
I think the most important thing we can do is choose not to glamorize a culture that glamorizes sex trafficking. And then the next thing that we can do is be aware of what we purchase.
Thank you, Anita. Michelle McKenzie talks more about the fact that we can't just ignore unfair labor practices.
Instead of pretending that I would never hire a slave, well, of course I would never hire a slave, but I might buy products that are produced by slave labor. So being aware of my behavior as a consumer.
It's not just the buying and selling of products, but ideas put forth through pop culture that have redefined what we see as socially acceptable. Ramsey County Attorney John Choi has worked for years on prosecuting ringleaders of human trafficking. He believes that we need to get to the root of this issue.
All of these things that I think that we're accustomed to or that happen as a part of media and movies, we as a community need to really think about that culture.
But perhaps most importantly,
young people today, high school students, they may feel like what they're doing doesn't matter with this big problem. They may feel like, what can I do? They may feel overwhelmed with the enormity of the problem. But even in small ways, I think you do a great service to this. Just understanding the issues and sharing that with, sometimes it's just your family, maybe it's just your circle of friends, maybe it's passing along an article that you read about this issue, and then becoming an advocate, becoming an abolitionist, I think can start you on that journey, and you could be a part of a great, great story with your life.
Signing off for The Flash, this is Anita.
It's easy to ignore an issue as unpleasant as human trafficking, but it takes brave students like those at Eastview to try to solve issues in our own community. Thanks for tuning into this special edition, Eastview.